many, many months. And a guy that I thought, I gave the name D. Bryan. I'm the one who coined the phrase, D. Bryan is going to go out here and shock and amaze the crowd. But having an injury like Daniel Bryan's got, going through that surgery, not one time, not two times, I heard it was like 3 times. Coming back from something like that is almost impossible due to what we have to go through on a nightly basis.
Tori, what about you?
Initially, my first thought was, I know how bad this sucks to have to retire from an injury. I had my career cut a little short due to injury. Look, I never got to experience the heights.
It was finished.
Brian.
It was finished.
I was finished.
Finished.
Still ain't finished. But Brian is a guy that's been around for a long time. I've gotten to follow him, kind of came up around a similar time. The guy has had an unbelievable influence on not only WWE, but the entire wrestling industry. And I know I use that term dangerously, but wrestling, that's what Daniel Bryan lives for. That's what he loves. That's what he's the best at. And it's a real bummer. It's a bummer.
You know, Dave, when you think of Daniel Bryan, the first thing that comes to mind is here's a guy, he didn't have the physical stature, he didn't have the height, you didn't think of him with the Hollywood good looks. This was a guy who wasn't supposed to make it, and he did.
No, you're absolutely right. I first met Daniel in NXT, and I heard about him coming in. This guy's supposed to be the best in the world. And I was like, okay, I gotta get a look at this guy. And then they're like, yeah, that's him. And I said, who? This guy right here? The guy that just looks like he works at a grocery store or something?
He was an everyday guy.
And I was like, what? And I talked to him, and he's just, kind of chill. But then he goes out in the ring and is amazing. And I was like, okay, wow. He's like 2 different people. Unbelievable guy.
Now, you guys, you were both together at Nexus for some time. You had some matches with Daniel Bryan. Were you surprised at what a big superstar he became?
No, I really wasn't, because just being in the ring with him, I got to see firsthand how good he really is. And what impressed me the most was how easy he made everything look. He was always just so comfortable, and in his mind, he was in control and just extremely confident.
I think one of the things that separated Daniel Bryan and made him different and able to transcend was a lot of guys get cheers from the crowd. A lot of people get excited when they see certain superstars and they like to make noise and chant along with them. You felt what Daniel Bryan did in the ring. That explains the Yes Movement, because everyone watching related to Bryan, and he made them feel what was happening in that ring. And like I said, I've known Bryan a long time. We used to do independent shows together. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much of an influence Bryan himself has on the WWE roster today. Not only just guys that he had matches with and people that were able to learn with him, but a lot of us consider Bryan one of the guys that sort of kicked down the door and opened the door for a whole different generation. The independent guys that were too small or weren't, polished enough for WWE. We were never going to make it. We were going to be stuck in the gyms. And Bryan, even back then, I remember doing the independent shows that he was on, and he just had a buzz about it. And there were guys that were making names for themselves. I mean, Samoa Joe was around, and there were a lot of guys. But there was something special when Bryan was in the building, that the crowd just lit up for him, and it was an intangible. It was it. It's what you can't put a name on it. And Bryan had it. And he came to WWE, and he overcame all the obstacles, and he just kicked down the door. And I honestly believe, and I don't think I'm out loud saying this, guys like Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn would never be in WWE rings if it weren't for Daniel Bryan. And I think the list is probably longer than that, but off the top, I think that's what comes to mind.
That book, you had a chance to sit ringside calling a lot of D. Bryan's in a lot of his matches. We were just looking at the video right there. There have been a lot of catchphrases in WWE, but has there been